Life's best moments are best captured by photography and video. You may ask, why photography and video? Because if a photo is worth 1,000 words, video is worth 1,000,000. And GPS photography and video will leave you speechless. GPS specializes in weddings, swords, fitness, and so much more. Book your next shoot today at 910-257-0526 or gpsphotoandvideo.com.
Welcome to the Amazon's podcast. I'm Glenn Young, owner of Amazon's fitness magazine. Celebrate the female physique. Subscribe to AmazonsFitMag.com. The podcast is brought to you by title sponsor Maximus Posing Suits. Let your inner warrior shine. Custom competition suits for victory on every stage. MaximusPosingSuits.com. And bronze level sponsor Murder Weight Apparel. You're not just wearing a clothing brand, you're wearing a mindset. Murderweight.com. And, of course, GPS Photography and Video. Amazon's Fitness Magazine is a publication of GPS Photography and Video. Why photography and video? Because if a photo's worth 1,000 words, video's worth 1,000,000. GPSPhotoandVideo.com. My guest is back just off stage at the Toronto Pro Showdown. Jess Falborn, as always, thanks for being so generous to join me on the podcast. Really appreciate you.
As always, thanks for having me, Glenn.
You're such a great conversationalist. You're great for content. You know, I know your time is always an issue, especially now being in prep. And so to keep coming on, I really appreciate you.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. And you give us such a great platform. And so I'm more than happy to be a part of the conversation and join you.
Appreciate you. So, Toronto Pro Showdown, second show of the year. And as we talked about last time, what went right, what went wrong, what could have been better?
Man, we improved so much from New York. I was so happy. I put a side-by-side comparison on my Instagram from my New York Pro and Toronto Pro look. And believe it or not, it was the same weight in both shows, but we were tighter. We made a few posing tweaks that helped my physique, display my physique a little bit better. And I think the thing that really went right was stress was so much lower. I am everyone is susceptible to stress showing in their physique when cortisol spikes and we retain water and there's inflammation. But since I'm, my coach Justin's assistant coach and we coach together, we're part of Camp Jansen, we have a group chat amongst all the coaches. We've just realized that my physique is even more susceptible than most. So, like I said, weight was the same, but the look was so different. Like at New York, I just looked watery. I didn't really look as conditioned as I had been even a few days before. And then even a week after New York, when we were 2 weeks out from Toronto and I had already signed the contract, I was already planning on doing it. My weight still wasn't budging. We weren't looking great. And Justin and I had a really tough conversation about what are we going to do? We can't show up and not be improved. And so we just made it a really, really collaborative 2-week prep, if you will. And I was like, listen, I think less is more here. I don't think we're going to peel much body fat off. I think we just need to focus on bringing my stress down, and that's going to yield a better look. So what went right? I trusted my gut. We went with it. We made changes. We cut my cardio. We fed me a little bit more. I rested so much more, kept my feet up. And I just felt like the stress of a pro debut was behind me. It was just, not that I'm just doing this for fun, but I was like, let's just go up there and have fun. There's no expectations of me since I came in dead last in New York. So nobody's expecting anything from me. So let me go up there and have fun and do what I do best, which is, pose and present my physique and do a great posing routine. I was like, let me go up there and have fun and do that. And it yielded much better results this time. So trusting my gut and having a collaborative approach with Justin was great. Also getting there early. I think I mentioned this the last time we spoke, but the week leading to New York was really stressful because it was here at home and I just couldn't shut off. You know, I was constantly running, doing. I got to Toronto. We were on stage on Sunday, and I got there on Thursday morning. And from Thursday morning until Sunday morning, aside from my last 2 workouts, going to a gym and sitting in the sauna, like doing my check-in meeting, doing my tan, I really didn't do much. I just sat on my butt and kept my feet up and just stayed really chill. So that was really really helpful as well. We know we have room to improve. I'm waiting to hear feedback from the judges. So I submitted my request for feedback. And I have a feeling it's going to be conditioning again, although we were much improved from New York. Looking at the photos, I really think that's the only thing that we need to improve upon at this point. So, did
you drive up or did you fly up?
I flew because if I drove, it would have been like 7.5, 8 hours.
Gotcha.
So it's like an hour and 30-minute flight. You're literally in the air for an hour, and then you're like taxiing and landing and all that. So it was so easy to get there. And customs was easy too. People kept telling me, they were like, "Oh, you got to watch out. Like with bringing food, they might seize it." I breezed right through. It was the least stressful travel I've ever had.
Yeah. Well, I think you're good as long as you don't have any ammo in your bag.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's a horror story that people have laid out.
We got ammo right here.
Well, that's true. You did. You actually brought some weapons. You're right. So less stress because it wasn't at home, which is sort of ironic. But like you said, you got to be able to shut off or shut it down.
Yeah.
So cortisol levels were down. You handled it a lot better. I saw the one video clip of, I think it was the night before at the Toronto Pro that you put up on your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, everybody can just go to @Jess Falborn IFBB Pro and subscribe to her YouTube channel.
Thank you.
And see all the content that's going on. So you got a lot of great stuff on your channel, and you're very forthcoming in that you share your whole entire prep. Others wouldn't share as much as you share. So I got to ask you, do you feel you share too much?
No, I still withhold a lot of stuff. I feel that it is my responsibility and my duty as a coach, as a leader, as an athlete, as someone that I know people look up to be as transparent as I possibly can with what it takes to be successful and be elite. Like, even if I'm not even if I'm not yet getting first call outs, even if I'm not yet winning shows, I'm still in the top 1% of people that are competing, So, so I feel like it's my duty to be transparent and share information. And I didn't share very much between New York and Toronto. Like I was very quiet on social media on purpose because I wanted to be able. I didn't want to talk about something that I couldn't yet prove. Like I've never done more than one show in a year, so I wanted to be able to like tune out all the noise and show up with a really improved physique. So the interview that you're referring to was with my friends here at Signature Fitness, my home gym. So my good friend and client Will and his fiance Steph, who works for Animal, they came with me and they got a lot of the content. Like my last training day there, we went to Pure Muscle and Fitness. And then I'm always on, Will and I always do podcasts for Signature. It's called Signature Cast, their podcast. So we'll do like Olympia predictions, Arnold predictions, New York Pro Week. And so we did a quick like 8-minute conversation the night before I went on stage.
Right.
And he was just asking, like, how do you feel? Blah, blah, blah. And I felt comfortable at that point really talking about like how I felt and him posting the content from my last training day 2 days before because with like showing off what my physique looked like because I knew we had made the improvements. So I feel like some people won't talk at all. They're just like grind in silence.
Exactly.
Say anything.
Though they win, they all over it then. Hey, where's the mic? Where's the mic?
Yeah. Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah. Which is fine. I mean, I get it.
Mhm.
Like but I do feel, and I say this a lot to like new female clients that I work with a
Mhm.
lot and competitors. I didn't really have that person to help mentor me and guide me when I first got into the sport, and so I feel like I want to give back and I want to be that for a lot of these newer athletes or even people that don't compete and they're just looking for someone to like teach them discipline and healthy habits and motivate them and inspire them. Like I want to be that for people. So I feel like it is a duty that I take, a responsibility that I take seriously. I want to be able to
Mhm.
share that with people. And I've heard great feedback along those lines from a lot of people before. So I'm going to continue to do that.
And of course, Signature in a way is a sponsor, so you
Yeah,
got to promote the gym and promote the team too. So,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they do so much for me. And like,
mhm.
gosh, it's such a great training facility. They just opened up Signature Restore, which is our like recovery center.
Okay.
And they let me, it's not even officially open yet. It opens on Monday, but they let me use it early access in the 2 weeks leading up to Toronto. They have cold plunges, they have infrared saunas, they have massage room. And so I'm big on ice baths and cold plunges and cryotherapy.
Mhm.
So they let me use it. I was the first one that used all of the whole facility in my like
Yeah, I saw
recovery.
you getting in the tub.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, it ain't nothing but a peanut. It's
I
not
hear
hard.
you.
It's not hard. But I mean, a lot of people are like scared to do the ice baths, the cold
No, the
plunges.
ice, yeah. Uh-huh.
It's mental, you know?
Does it really help your recovery though?
It does, but you have to do it. It has to be strategic. Like you can't just like
Mhm.
willy nilly be like, I'm going to take a cold plunge today. Like you don't want to do it right after you train because
Mhm.
you do want because it reduces inflammation, which is great. But you want to have a sort of inflammatory response after you train. That's where your muscles kind of break down and then grow back stronger and
Right.
bigger. But for me, it helps a ton
Mhm.
because it keeps systemic inflammation down, and that's something that I am very susceptible to. So that, in conjunction with the infrared sauna, so like extreme temperatures, really do help with recovery. But
Mhm.
you always want to do, if you can, heat first, shower off, and then get in the cold plunge after
Okay.
that. So
Yeah, I think when I was coming up and playing sports, they used the rice theory. Rest,
yep, rest,
then
ice, compression, elevation.
there you go. There you go.
Yep.
So and it works, But the
Yeah.
thing about it, if you heard it back in high school, Friday night or college, it was Saturday. You get that injury, twisted ankle or what have you, and you trying to get back out there by Wednesday because that would be the cut line. Hey, you can't
Yep.
go, you
Yep.
can't play, and then that's when you hated your athletic trainer the most. But they were always looking out for your
I
best
know.
interest.
Yeah.
But you didn't want to give up that spot, man. That's that's the tough part.
Yep. I know.
So what went wrong to close that out? Obviously didn't win, but
Yeah.
how was placing?
We took ninth in Masters and 10th in Open
Okay.
out of 14 in Masters and 16 in Open. So, and actually ended up placing higher than some of the girls that there were one or two girls that I competed against in New York, and I
Hmm.
ended up placing higher than them at Toronto.
See,
So,
that's interesting because you get what is it like 2 weeks apart from the shows,
three. Yeah.
3 weeks apart from the shows. You place higher than them, so then you got to like, what did they not do that you did?
I don't know. I don't care.
Well, it's a
I,
very candid answer.
it's because I don't care about anyone else. It's me versus
Right,
me. I knew what I was capable of, and I
right.
knew that my New York Pro look was not me. And I was like, we are going to do everything we can to bring a better look. So, I dreams are only delusional when you don't achieve them. So people may
Right.
think I'm delusional right now, but I know I'm going to be on the Olympia stage. It's just a matter of when. And so I'm
Yes.
just going to keep chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. And we're going to find that secret formula that's going to get my physique exactly where it needs to be. I know it's there. We just got to figure
Mhm.
out how to get it out.
No question, and that's why it's good for me to be in on the ground floor
Yeah.
when you blow up because you know once you blow up, then who is Glenn? What?
No,
Oh, block
never.
this guy. Block. Blocked.
Never, never, never,
Let,
never.
let me report him to the IFBB. There's a big guy out here. So now, like I said, 2 shows in the year. You've been on prep since
Thanksgiving.
December?
Thanksgiving, end of November.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So you did you eat Thanksgiving meal? You didn't.
Thanksgiving was my last day not on prep. And I don't even like Thanksgiving.
Really? Why?
It's not my favorite food.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not a big turkey fan. Okay,
Mm.
mashed potatoes, I could take them or leave them. But
Huh.
Christmas I care a little bit more about. But
Okay.
whatever, Christmas comes every year. I'll be fine. So,
What is your favorite off-season meal?
whew. Pizza's my favorite food.
Mhm.
I'm half Italian, so I love my Italian food. I love pizza. Post show, I usually always get a burger and fries. That
Mhm.
just always hits the spot. But off season, probably pizza, because I don't really mess with pizza as a post show meal.
Mhm.
Tends to be a little bit too heavy. The dairy can mess with you, so I try not to touch pizza until I'm in my off season.
Got you.
Yeah.
So 2 shows in, I
Mhm.
know you had told me earlier or before
Mhm.
last time we talked that you and your coach don't have a pitch count as to how many shows that you will do. Is that still the case? What's up next for Jess Falborn?
So I enjoyed the Sunday evening after Toronto, and I'm sitting there with my mom and her boyfriend. We're eating dinner, and they asked me, and I was like, I don't know, I'm just gonna enjoy the evening. I'm lucky that my physique improved enough for this show, and so I don't know if I've got another show in me. I'm thinking about it, and I'm also like, well, there's not another one for at least another 5 weeks or so, so that's
Mhm.
a long stretch. I wake up the next day and I'm going to text Justin, I'm going to ask him, hey, what do you think? And before I can even hit send, he messaged me and he was
Mhm.
like, what do you think? You got another one in you? Or are we calling it for the season? And I am never one to back down from a challenge. The only reason I would say no would be if I didn't feel healthy and if I didn't feel like my physique could hold on. And that may very well end up being the case. But as of right now, we have picked out which show we're going to do. I'm not going to name which one because if I end up not being ready for it, I don't want to put it out
Right.
there and then have to backtrack. But it's going to be one of the next ones that come up. There's 3, 4 right in a row.
Yeah, there's a triple. I call it the Triple Crown. You got Atlanta, Chicago, Tampa.
And then you've
As far
got
as in the States.
and then shortly after that is Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and then one more right there. But yeah,
Anaheim. Well, I'm thinking along the lines of women's bodybuilding. There's a lot more,
oh
obviously, for women's physique.
yeah,
But the big one in Texas, big money,
I know.
15K on the line.
If it won't be Texas, I'll tell you that. I wish
Okay.
it were because that
Just gonna walk away from 15K just like that. I don't need the money.
if I could make it, if I could be dieting 9 months and make it there, I wouldn't walk away from it. I would be crawling.
Understand.
It's Texas Pro is definitely on my list of shows I want to do at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe 2025 will kind of shift when we start prep. And
Right.
because as we talked about, I was there last year and I saw it firsthand. And I'll probably end up I'd like to be able to go and support. I have some teammates that'll be competing at Texas this year, and I just Freddie and the whole team there. They're great. Sarah putting up the money for the Women's Distinction Award. That's the environment that you want to be around. So I wish the timing worked out for my prep, but it's definitely on my list of shows that I'd like to do if it lines up at some point.
No question. And then the Triple O Dynasties already came out. That's going to happen. That's going to be more prize money as well.
Yeah. So I think looking ahead to 2025, it all depends on how 2024 goes. If I end up winning my next show, I'll never say never. Then we've got the Olympia, and then I would probably need a little bit of a longer off season. So Triple O may not be in the cards, but if we don't punch our ticket at this next show, then maybe Triple O is the show we do. We get one done nice and early and see how it goes.
And I was going to ask you, when would you jump into that next show in 2025?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we haven't. I'm focused on the next show, and that's it. I'm not thinking too far ahead. Um, but I do know, like, if as we do kind of think about next steps. So whatever my last show is for this year, immediately after that, we'll go into like a very rigorous health phase, gut protocol, like make sure I'm very healthy, so that
Mm-hmm.
we can have a productive and healthy off season. I don't need to put on size. So for me, it's just about getting as healthy as possible and being able to eat as much as possible so that I don't have to go into such a crazy deficit when I diet. So Justin and I have talked about how we want to like treat this off season as like a really
Mm-hmm.
long health phase. And there's some other things I want to be able to accomplish. Like, when you're prepping for shows, you have to put a lot of other stuff on hold. So I want to be able to build my business back up a little bit more, take on more
Right.
clients, and there's other sports I like too. Like I want to do a powerlifting meet at some point. I want to hop back in.
Really?
Yeah, I coach CrossFitters. I want to hop back in and do CrossFit with them. Like I love sports, so like
Mm-hmm.
you can't really do a lot of that stuff when you're prepping for a show.
True.
So yeah, I want to. There's some things I want to be able to do. So it just depends on how an off season lines up. So,
Mm-hmm. So let me talk to you about competitors who let other competitors get into their head.
oh,
Specifically, if they're getting ready to do a show and they're looking at who may do it, in the case of Natalia Coelho,
yeah,
and they be like, well, she's doing the show, I'm not doing it. Then the other part of that is if you're basing on a competitor, you're still going to have to go up against them at some point at the
yeah,
Olympia.
yeah,
So whoever's there is there. You got to go up against the best of the best, my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
And then lastly, and I'll let you roll with it, is if the competitor says, well, that person did X amount of shows and they took a slot from someone who could have qualified for the Olympia.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts?
All right, so I'll touch on that last part first.
Okay.
I am here to compete. I can understand why someone would do multiple shows
Mm-hmm.
to assert dominance and like absolutely dominate the sport. I
Right.
understand that. If your reason for competing in multiple shows is to make money, that's
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of bullshit because we
Mm-hmm.
don't win very much money in women's physique. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, to say, oh, I'm doing all these shows to make money and pay the bills. No, just call a
Mm-hmm.
spade a spade. You want to assert your dominance, and that's fine. Okay. However, I do agree that if you are claiming to be an ambassador for the sport and lead the sport,
Mm-hmm.
um, don't take spots away from other women's physique competitors, especially considering we don't have very many opportunities to get to the Olympia stage compared to other divisions.
Right.
And there's no point system.
No.
So every show that someone wins, and if they're winning multiple shows, that's one less spot that we have for someone new in the sport to step on stage at the Olympia, right? To
Right.
grow the sport. You never know who's going to be another great ambassador for the sport, and they may need to win a show to get the notoriety and the fame that they need. So I think if call a spade a spade, if
Mm-hmm.
you say, I don't care about anyone else, I am here to dominate the sport, go ahead,
Yes.
girl. Go ahead, do as many shows as you want, win them all, take all those spots from everyone, and be the villain. Who cares?
Yep.
But if you claim that you're going to be
Mm-hmm.
an ambassador for the sport and you want to grow the sport, do your show, win your show, and get out of the way for other women and prop them up on a pedestal. Help them get to stage. Help them get to the Olympia. That's
And then
my,
and then get their ass kicked.
yeah, right. And then you're still going to show up and do what you
Right.
do, right? But
Mm-hmm.
because let's be real, like people always ask, they're like, oh, like, do you want to win the Olympia one day? Do I have a chance of winning the Olympia? I believe I can make it to the Olympia stage. Do I think I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
win? In all likelihood, no. Like we've got some really serious talent at the top right now. I'll never
Right.
say never. You never know what's going to happen. But
You know, Jess, you just got to walk in the locker room or walk backstage and say which one of you blanks is getting second, and then roll with it.
I mean, I say that. Listen, I say that in my head. I do. When I
Mm-hmm.
won my pro card in 2022, I
Mm-hmm.
vividly remember being backstage, looking around and being like, I wonder if these women know that they're standing next to the girl that's going to beat them. Like I knew.
Exactly. Your mindset was like,
It's mine.
I'm winning this.
Yeah, it's mine. Yeah. So I still have that mindset, but it's like it hasn't yet been my time. Like it'll be my time, and one day I'll win a show and I'll get up there. But yeah, I mean that's my thoughts on it.
Would you rather be seen as the villain or the hero?
It's a good question.
Because I gotta say, if that prize money keeps going up,
yeah.
Case in point, I keep bringing up Sarah Viega's show in Texas.
Yeah.
The big dogs coming out. I mean, you're talking 15K. The big dogs are coming out, and there you go. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
You can't have it where there's not enough shows, and then at the same time flip it and say somebody's taking my slot because she competes every show.
Yeah.
And then you can't say, oh, we want more prize money. It's just not going to work that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've always said I don't compete for money. I don't compete to make a living. But, say that the stars lined up and I had already qualified for the Olympia at a show that was right before Texas, I would absolutely go and do Texas. Like if it were like close enough, like my New York, Toronto scenario, if it were like that, absolutely I would. I don't care. Like that is real money. Like,
yeah, you're right.
So I don't care if that would make me the villain. I don't do this for anyone else but myself.
There you go. And your average prep is what, roughly 10K baseline?
Yeah, one show.
So, yeah.
Well, so you're just taking yourself back.
There you go. Exactly. So, yeah, let that money keep kicking up. You're going to pull them big dogs out.
Yeah. I agree.
So one other thing I want to talk to you about is photography. And I can tell you as a photographer, there's nothing more sacred or precious than for a competitor to say, that's my photographer.
Yeah.
Or I only want to shoot with you because they trust you, number one. Of course, you're good, you're great, but there's a lot of great photographers out there, but their approach is shit. And they don't have a trust value where they play out, so, oh, don't shoot with him, girl. And you shoot with Chris Vera, Next Level Photography.
Yeah.
He's been doing a lot of great content for you, but not just you, Amanda and Agus as well. Talked to him on many occasions when we at the Olympia. I'm still waiting on Chris to turn in his stuff.
Right.
He can be a contributing photographer for Amazon, so let him know. Because I sent him a couple of messages, so maybe you need to get in his ear. So we can get his content published in Amazon's fitness magazine.
Yeah.
But that being said, talk to me. How do you pick a photographer?
They do have to have a good reputation. Like I'm going to ask around because I get so, and I mean, most women in the sport we get so many requests, right?
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to look at someone's portfolio and I'm going to ask around. I'm going to see who else they've shot with. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but there are some big name photographers that a lot of women shoot with that I absolutely will refuse to shoot with because I've heard really disgusting stories. And so they'll ask like, why don't you want to shoot with me? I'm like, I have no interest in shooting with you. I'm not even going to get into it. Right. Like,
right.
But so like looking at their portfolio, and then, you got to give, if everything else it looks good, you've got to give someone a chance, like if I like their style, fortunately, like, I think I'm pretty easy to work with. Like I'm comfortable in front of the camera. I know the angles that work for me. You don't really have to like do many different takes, to get the shot we're looking for. So if I feel like I can vibe with someone and they can move as quickly as I can move, or they can take the photos as quickly as I can pose for them, then I know I'm working with someone that's a professional and like takes this seriously. I've worked with photographers before, like say I'm promoting something for a business or a gym and they ask me to come in and do a shoot. And I've worked with these amateur photographers and I'm like, why are you taking 20 minutes for one photo? Like, come on, like, let's move. This should take us minutes total. So, I feel like I bring a certain level of professionalism and I look for that in a photographer too. Chris has been a friend of mine for a while. I
Mhm.
knew him through Signature, and he was the one that talked me into starting a YouTube channel back in
Mhm.
2022 when I was getting ready for my pro card win. And I remember saying to him, I was like, Chris, who the hell wants to listen to me? Like, nobody's going to watch this. Like, are you kidding? And he was like,
Look at you now.
Right? Yeah. I mean, we're like well over 1,100, 1,200. No, we're probably well over 1,200 subscribers on YouTube,
Mhm.
which like I never would have expected. And obviously, we still got a lot of room to grow. But the big deciding factor there was he is behind the camera also talking to me, so he's prompting me. He made me feel really comfortable, and he helped me with setting up the YouTube channel, like with
Right.
uploading the episode, with giving me like the cover photos, with showing me how to do it. So if I didn't have Chris doing that, I probably would have never started the YouTube channel, and we would
Mhm.
have never grown it to where it is today. He's a like a wealth of knowledge, and it's not just in fitness either. Like, you know, he shoots weddings and engagements
Yes.
and other gym content. So
Mhm.
yeah, so I'm grateful, and I think back to your original question, the professionalism, looking at someone's portfolio, talking to other people that have shot with them before, and then just seeing if you can vibe with them. You know, I
Right.
want to be, I always say this about picking personal training clients too. Like I have no problem saying no to taking new clients. If you're
Mhm.
not someone that I would sit down and have a drink with, I'm not spending time with you. And that goes for photographers too. Like if I can
Right.
have a conversation with you, because I mean, what are we doing when you're not rolling, right? Like we're gonna do
Exactly.
that.
Setting up
So
the next lighting setup. Yeah.
yeah. Another one that I'm like will always shoot with exclusively is HD Physiques, Joe Bear.
Mhm. Yes.
I mean, I did my first ever bodybuilding photo shoot with Joe at the 2019 Olympia. And I had
Yes.
just competed in my first show ever in figure. And I met him. And I was like so nervous, didn't know what I was doing. I'm going to have to dig up some of those older photos and send them
Yeah.
to you, Glenn, because you'd be like, who is this? Like this, I
Oh
was
yeah.
not comfortable in front of the camera.
Night and day is all about building chemistry over time.
Yeah,
And Joe Bayer, yeah, I've been following him since 2017. So
he's the
yeah,
best.
yes, he is
And
very good at what he does.
he's so good at what he does, and he also is very protective, and he's a very good friend. So he gives me a lot of intel in the
Mhm.
industry on who to be wary of, who to shoot with. So I trust his judgment implicitly. If he tells
Mhm.
me, don't shoot with this person, let me tell you why. You don't
Yeah.
have to tell me, Joe. I trust you, right? Like
Yeah.
he knows that I always joke, I'm like, damn my morals and values. Like like I won't do most things that other people would do, but like I appreciate that Joe knows that about me. And he's like, I
Right.
don't want to shoot with that person because it would go against what you stand for. So
And he was very instrumental in you being on NPC News Online anchoring as well, right?
yep, yeah. I mean, JM knew who I was, but
Mhm.
the fact that Joe was doing a lot of the camera work for the NPC News Online interviews at
Right.
Texas Pro and Universe, that was how I got hooked up with that. So yeah, he's another
Yeah.
one. He's a very good friend.
That's what stuck out to me about you because you're very charismatic, well spoken, and you can talk the lingo and type of the language. And competitors just calm enough to talk to you because there's a difference when another competitor talks to a competitor because they will give you a tidbit they wouldn't give to just a regular interview or a regular news media
Yeah,
outlet.
yeah, and we know the questions to ask. You know, it's not
Right.
just like, oh, what's your meal going to be after you get off stage? You know,
Exactly. I hate that question.
yeah.
Well, where are you going?
I mean, I'll tell
Where
you,
you
but
going
like,
to eat? I mean, that's great, but I mean, not exactly news breaking.
no. And I'm
Uh,
also honestly at this point, like, I'm not thinking about. Like, I've been thinking about food, yeah, but like,
Yeah,
I just got off stage. I haven't. My mom is asking me. She's like, "So did you make a
yeah.
reservation?" I'm like, Mom, I just got off stage.
And you've been on both sides of the mic, so you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And one of the biggest things for me, it comes down to chemistry. You can have the greatest portfolio in the world, but if your vibes are shit, they're not going to shoot with you.
yep,
And it really comes down to, every shoot that you do is a resume for the next client that you would want to get.
Yeah.
And girls talk, competitors talk.
We do.
Um,
We do.
throughout the business, not just in fitness, but anything. If you got that bad, oh, girl, don't do this, A, B, and C because of 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
That's it. What is your reputation? And the biggest thing, I always shoot model's choice. So number one is always the model's choice.
Yep.
And then you don't have to worry about, oh, let's do this. I can give you 101 ideas, but if it's not right for your brand or what you're trying to do,
Sure.
then there you go. So
Yep.
model's choice, and you'll never have to worry about it.
Yeah, you won't go wrong if you leave it up to the model.
Tell Chris, I ain't playing. Tell him, do the model release, send his work in.
I know.
And keep in mind, don't post it because we need original work as well.
Okay.
But Chris Vera, Next Level Photography, got good stuff. And if you, as a fitness model or competitor, find somebody you can work well with that has the right chemistry and that fits your brand and everything, and roll with it from there.
And ask some of those other models.
Exactly. The first thing you should do is okay, who is he shot with?
Yeah.
And then contact that model or that competitor.
It's the same thing with podcasts too. Like Agus and Amanda didn't know who you were, Glenn, and they were like,
right.
"Oh, Glenn wants."
What? Wait a minute! They didn't know who I was.
Well,
they did not know who Amazon's Fitness Magazine.
Amanda did, because Amanda learned about you at the same time I did. But but Agus, no, she's newer to the sport, and so
right.
she asked me. She was like, "Oh, and that's why I had tagged you, because I was like, she needs to get more comfortable in front of the camera. She needs to get her name out there." Right. And she was like, "Oh, he asked me to do the podcast. Should I do it?" I was like, "Absolutely, you should do it." I wouldn't have connected you guys if I didn't think you should. It's good practice for you, but also there's a small group of people I'm going to refer my closest friends to, you being one, Glenn. So I was like, I trust.
I appreciate that.
Go ahead and get on there. So
yeah. And yeah, she was great. And yeah, she's going to be, next year coming out, she's going to be definitely a name to look for. And she's got to get with Chris and get that YouTube channel.
I know. Yeah. Amanda's starting her YouTube channel tomorrow. I think she's shooting her first episode tomorrow.
Okay. I thought she already had one, but mostly because she's always in the video with you. So that's what made me assume that she already had one.
No, she doesn't have one yet. And honestly, our lifestyles are a little bit different. Her being a kindergarten teacher, she's super busy, but school year's almost over. She's going to have a little more time to dedicate to it. But then, I guess we'll have to get her set up with one as well. And she's actually great behind the camera. All of the content of me training that wasn't on my YouTube, all the videos I would post on my story, all the reels I would make, she shot all of that because she was my training partner. So she's great behind the camera and loves to do that too.
So she's already there.
Yeah. So we've got a good group here, but I got to get on Chris to make sure to send you some stuff.
There you go.
He submitted
it. Publish and go from there.
He submitted.
So what part of New York are you in?
I'm in New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm in North Jersey. It's right over the border.
It's not the same thing, though, huh?
Well, I can. No, it's not the same thing. But I grew up right on the border of New York, New Jersey. But I can see, I'm in the town is called Lyndhurst. I can see, I could see the skyline from here. I'm probably a 20-minute. If I were to drive, 20, 30-minute drive into Manhattan. So it's not far.
Okay. Yeah. Jess, I'm gonna let you get out of here on this one.
Okay.
If you don't make the Olympia, will you view the season as a failure?
Absolutely not. No way. It's only a failure if you didn't gain anything, if you didn't learn anything. I definitely felt a sense of failure after New York, 1,000%. I definitely had some post-show blues. I was really disappointed in placing. But I think what makes you define your own victories, right? And placing doesn't define me, doesn't define my season. It has not yet been my time, but doesn't mean it won't be. And we've learned a ton. We've learned so much. And the biggest thing for me is, I said this earlier, before New York, I'd only ever done 4 shows. New York was my 5th show ever. I'd only ever done 1 show a year. So to me, I already have seen a huge victory in being able to rally and do a 2nd show, and now most likely a 3rd show. to be able to like get my body to respond in that way. So that's a huge victory for me. And just what we've learned has been like invaluable. So will I see it as a failure? No. Will I be disappointed? Yeah, because like I have very lofty goals. And I remember saying to my good friend Sean Clarita back in January when I was down there visiting him and his family, I was like, I want to make the Olympia. I want to win my pro debut, and I want to make the Olympia in my rookie season. I was like, I know it's crazy to say, but I'm telling him this. And he was like, why is it crazy? You have to put that out there.
Right.
Like crazier things have happened. You have to put that out there if you want to achieve it. And don't even think I might not. Don't even think there's a plan B. That's what you just have to operate on, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So, no, I won't consider it a failure at all.
Jess Falborn, is always glad that you come on Amazon's podcast.
Thanks.
Hope to have you back again soon, especially if you do that third show. But let me know what you're doing and everything.
I will. Don't worry. I'm going to give you an exclusive, Glenn. As soon as I'm okay talking about it, you'll know.
Appreciate you as always.
Thanks, Glenn. See you soon.
All right. Bye-bye. Coming up tomorrow night, Melanie Horton will be joining us at 7:30 p.m. Can't wait to talk to her. She's off the stage from the Toronto Pro Showdown as well. So looking forward to tuning in at 7:30 p.m. So I can talk to her, and looking forward to talking to her. And then on Saturday, 11 a.m., Nadia Enriquez will be joining me. So she's just off stage as well. And then, of course, at 4 o'clock, Amanda Almodovar will be joining me, and we're going to talk everything about how bad Jess is and everything, and we'll go from there. But looking forward to talk to her. I'm Glenn Young, Amazon's Fitness Magazine. Celebrate the female physique. Subscribe to AmazonsFitMag.com. Amazon's Fitness Magazine is a sponsor of the female bodybuilding channel. Enjoy what those guys do, AJ and JB. Make sure you subscribe and check them out as well. They brag that they are the only news network, I guess you will, for women's bodybuilding. So the flip side of that is Amazon's Fitness Magazine is the only magazine of women's bodybuilding. So there you go. But appreciate what those guys do. They're off to Spain. So excited to see the coverage that they're going to have in Spain. And I believe they're going to Portugal as well. So that's good stuff. I also sponsor 3 Olympians. And for the last 6 months, it's been my pleasure to be able to do that for Hella Trevino, Teresa Vancic, and, of course, Ashley Jones. Want to always do more. Looking forward to them. Excited that they're all going to the Olympia and on the Olympia stage. Who could have imagined it when all of this started out? So all the best to those 3. And, of course, hey, you got to believe in them. When you invest in someone, you believe in them. And I certainly believe in those 3, as well as Female Bodybuilding Channel. So lastly, the podcast started January 31st. And then now I think I'm up to 1,275 subscribers. And it's great. The whole purpose of the Amazon's Fitness Magazine podcast was to defray the rumors, to get all the source from me, who is the source on Amazon's Fitness Magazine, control the narrative, because there were just a lot of false narratives out there. So that's the reason for the podcast. It's doing well. Keep it going, and we'll keep bringing you many more competitors as we celebrate the female physique. Subscribe to AmazonsFitMag.com. Thanks again for all the subscribers to the website that re-upped, that went through the annual initial subscription. Now I re-up for a second, and now going into the 3rd year. So I really appreciate you. When you do more, I can do more. And I want to do a lot for women's bodybuilding and keep this going on all platforms. So continue to follow on all social media platforms, and, of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel of Amazon's Fitness Magazine. And I will see you tomorrow night.